In this exercise we will look at the import options and see what settings we can use when importing geometry. So first I will hide this part, select it, Control Space to hide selected. Then I go back to Home tab and click on Import Geometry. And here I will select the bracket Parasolid and go to Menu and Import Options. And here I will select this box, Import as Reference Geometry, and I will deselect the Manual Place setting. Click OK and click Open, and the part will be placed here. So now with these settings I will select the assembly, come over to the scene browser, expand the assembly. We see now that there are no solid parts with blue icons that contains a B-rep. Now they have been converted to a reference part, and as a reference part they are not editable. They are just a reference. So a reference part is one of many other features in IronCAD, like for instance parts, assemblies, 3D curves, 2D shapes and sheet metal parts and so on. So when this bracket is a reference part, you cannot do any changes to it. You cannot come to the IntelliShape level, just the part level, and you cannot add geometry to it. So I go back to Starter Catalog. If I drag an extrude shape and drop it here on this bracket, it will not be a feature of it, it will be a separate part. So I will delete it. But on the other hand, if you select this bracket and right click, you can convert it to editable part. So now if you see here in the scene browser, now it is a solid part with a B-rep. So that means I can now drag an extrude shape and drop it on this bracket and it will be a feature of that bracket. So I will select the assembly, turn on the tribal, and I will move it aside in this direction, and then I will turn off the tribal and deselect the assembly. Then I come up here to import geometry again, and I will select the same bracket, go to menu and import options, and I will uncheck this box, but I will check this one, combine all as reference geometry. Click OK and open. So if we now go to the scene browser and expand the bracket or the assembly, we see that now is there only one reference part instead of 4 that we have in the other one, and the locking pin itself is only one reference part. Here there are 2. So it is the same with this reference part, that it's just a reference part and you can't make any changes to it. You come just to the part level, there is no IntelliShape level. So the question is, what is the benefits or advantages of using reference geometry instead of solid parts? Well, this assembly contains only one reference part, so it contains very little information and it will be easy to handle. So if you are going to use a part as a reference in your design, then it's good to import it with these settings. As a reference part, it will be easy to handle in the scene. So I will select this assembly, turn on the tribal, and I move it aside in this direction. And then turn off the tribal and deselect the assembly. Then I come up here to import geometry again, and this time I will select the step file. Come over here to menu and import options, and I will uncheck this box. So now we have the default settings here. So I will click OK and open. So now this step file has the same properties as the first Parasolid bracket we imported. So if we expand this assembly, we see that it contains solid parts with B-rep, and you can also make changes to it. You can add geometry. I can drag an extrude shape and drop it here on this bracket, and this extrude shape will be a feature of that bracket. So now you can make changes to this step file. So now it is up to you to see if you can make the same changes as you did with the Parasolid file. But I will close this scene.